Let's see how this goes. This talk and practice is to do with yoga and high blood pressure, which I actually suffer from. So I'm personally invested in making sure that this works, at least for me. A normal range of blood pressure is 90/60 to 140/90, where the first number is the beat or systolic pressure when the heart beats, and the second is the diastolic number, which is between heartbeats. Hypertension is anything above the higher number, and the higher the number, the more critical, creating conditions for hardening arteries, arterial plaque formation, kidney failure, and the risk of stroke or a heart attack, so not very pleasant. Hypotension, low blood pressure, is also a risk condition, but unless there are symptoms, this condition is generally less dangerous. Yoga is a good exercise for people with high blood pressure. Most of us here know that yoga is a practice that includes certain physical, breathing, and mental exercises, although I would say that the three can hardly be said to be separable. Some of these exercises have been clinically proven to lower blood pressure naturally, and you can have a look online at my text for a link to this. Given the huge cost governments in the global north, but increasingly worldwide, face, diseases caused by high blood pressure are estimated to cost the NHS over $2 billion every year, for instance. Why is this not headline news? Because what's simple isn't easy. There's no real excuse, of course, for governments to continue to focus on medical solutions to a societal problem, particularly solutions that involve grossly inflating the profitability of drugs and therefore drug-producing companies, while lifestyle and stress reduction-based activities are massively underfunded or ignored. That doesn't mean that we can't all do a bit to reduce our own reliance on an overburdened system. This article and the practices that follow set out a brief overview of how yoga can help to reduce blood pressure. I'll describe, and I'll actually practice behind me here, some poses that you can try at home. You don't have to have high blood pressure to use these poses. First then, to the how. Yoga reduces blood pressure, initially by lowering stress, but it does so paradoxically by also temporarily increasing good stress. Excuse me. By putting the body and the breath under mild pressure, and by learning how to observe thoughts, which is a kind of discipline, the entire system becomes more resilient, more able to tolerate the vicissitudes of life. Since our stress responses include things like excessive alcohol or food consumption, distracting ourselves with shopping or gambling or other unhealthy habits, or allowing anger or anxiety to overwhelm us, the ability to self-regulate has huge knock-on effects. But the effects are not necessarily linear, and nor are they necessarily immediate. Some effects can be, but yoga's effectiveness depends very much on how the student or patient is sticking, how open the student or patient is, rather, to sticking with a regime for a few weeks or months, and on the willingness of a teacher to work in a way that is compassionate and accessible. So any program needs to be responsive to the impact it's having on the individual. And that's why the quick fix of medication, which has immediate blanket effects, even if they also include side effects, and even if they fail to address the cause of the stress, are the default response of a society which is itself under pressure to deal with a chronic and burgeoning problem. Essentially, yoga makes people more self-aware. And this creates a biofeedback mechanism. You can bring your calm attention to your body, breath, and mental activities, which relax, lengthen, and strengthen or become more resilient under that calm self-observation. But to have a real impact, you need to be patient, consistent, and disciplined. Not something that people already under pressure are likely to find attractive or motivating. In addition, of course, not all high blood pressure is equal. Some hypertension is largely genetic, and medication may be the only option in that case. But even then, yoga exercises can make it possible for the arteries, or at least the muscles around them, to relax a bit, for the heart to beat a bit more slowly and gently. You have nothing to lose by giving it a go. Making healthier choices about what to eat and drink and how to spend your leisure time, less red-faced sitting at the screen time and more moving blue and green time, goes hand in hand with yoga. Yoga lets you take back control of your attitude to whatever's going on. Instead of being a victim, you can become a survivor, and that is key to your survivability. As you know, high blood pressure is a sign of the heart working too hard, and an overworked heart is both a symptom and a cause of further health complications. A negative self-image stresses you out. Yet your self-image is something you can do something about, because by being kinder and more accepting of who you are, you're already creating a positive feedback loop that has the potential to let you become a more relaxed version of yourself. If you can't get to a yoga class, you can still practice yoga using these simple steps. The first thing to do is to set 5 minutes a day aside to sit or lie down and practice accepting yourself just as you are, without blame, without excuses. This includes your body, but it also includes your breath and your thoughts and feelings. Lying down is easier if you're not used to sitting, but means you'll have to find somewhere quiet. See if you can practice as soon as you wake up. 5 minutes. As I said earlier, it's that simple. But I have to tell you too that this is something I work on every single day. And after 40 years of practice, it's still not easy. But if it's not easy, and giving yourself space and time is a real challenge, I can categorically assert that it does get better. It feels better to practice, and over time, little by little, you can feel the good effect the practice is having on your ability to keep calm while all around you seems to be in conflict. Yoga really is a practice. The discipline of doing 5 minutes of self-acceptance every day requires that you make time for yourself, which is itself a skill. And while 5 minutes daily isn't going to make a huge difference to your blood pressure, although you might be surprised, trust me on this one, you will know you've made a start. And as they say, every journey starts with small but significant initial steps. The second thing is to take your attention to your breath and very kindly, very gently lengthen just the exhalation. You can add 2 minutes of this compassionate breathing exercise to the first exercise. Notice how you relax naturally on the exhalation and go with the flow of letting go. Your breath can be a way to notice where the tension is. Your face, shoulders, arms, legs, tummy, heart, lungs. And to imagine it all dropping away as you let the air out of your lungs. Keep your posture good and upright. If you collapse, you won't be able to breathe so easily. The third thing is to move. For that, I'm going to move onto the mat. If you can only give yourself a few minutes, choose 1 or 2 moves and do them slowly over 5 or 10 minutes.